Hi, and welcome to Book Bites with Maggie. We're shooting live from Napanee Public Library, and joining me today is Martha. If you are unfamiliar with Book Bites, this is a virtual program that is going to be streaming live on Facebook, and it will be available to watch later. The theme with Book Bites is each program, each episode, we're going to have a different genre of books to kind of pitch at you books that we've read, have some great discussion about the books, and kind of hear from each other. And in the comments, as you're watching us, you can tell us if you've read the books that we're holding up, if you would like to be put on hold for them, if you have a Napanee Public Library card. We would love to set the books aside for you. If something piques your interest at any point, you can leave a comment, let us know what book you are interested in, and we can put that available on the hold shelf for you. And just kind of talk books and have fun with it. So we're here to kind of interact with you. Today's theme is royals. Don't we look wonderful? And it is a complete fluke that the royals are in the news again today, because we've been planning this one for quite some time. Book Bites is going to come to you live twice a month. So we've already got our plans in motion for May. So you want to make sure you stay tuned to those as well. At this time, before we get started on each of our books, if you want to share this episode with people in your timeline, on your newsfeed, they're on Facebook, they're going to be welcome to joining us as well. So you can go ahead and do that now. And we're sharing it too. Hi, Mrs. Wyman. Perfect. Martha is our Heritage Collection Manager over at the Napanee Center, but she is a very familiar face here in the library as well. So we're going to be talking about all different types of royal storylines today. So I wanted to go over a couple of the terms that we're probably going to throw around that we're familiar with, but most people are not. Some of the things that we'll probably mention are fan fiction. That means what an author, what a publisher has done is taken a storyline, real life people that we already know, or a story that has already been written, and somebody is going to reimagine it into their own piece of work. Okay, so that might be something that we mentioned during some of our book talks. Another one is going to be dystopian. What that means is, instead of like an alternate history book, dystopian is going to be like the way, the perspective an author sees the future going. So it's a futuristic book, but not quite fantasy. It's just the way that they perceive the world is going to be in the future. So if you would think back to like George Orwell's 1984, he wrote that pre-1984. The book takes place at that point in the future in what he thinks that year is going to be like. So dystopian is a futuristic telling of what the author feels like could happen in the world. Another thing that we might mention would be, there was a third one, historical fiction. Historical fiction would be, it's based on real life people, potentially real events, but they've fictionalized things around it. So you can picture a person that you might know from a movie, a previous book, your history book, from the history, but then the story around it is totally from the author's imagination, and things that might make a connection in hindsight could be a total fluke. So those are some of the things that we might mention with these books here. Can you think of anything else, Martha?
No, I don't think so.
No?
I think you covered it well enough.
Okie dokie. So we are mostly going to be talking about books for teens and up, but we do have one series that can go like middle grade.
Yeah, it can go middle grade.
Middle grade, and then like, well, goodness, some of us adult readers like to read other books too. So let's start with that one.
Okay, so this actually has got me on my track of my love of the royal, like reading books about the royals, is The Princess Diaries by Meg Cabot. She's a Indiana author, so she is kind of sort of local. She grew up in Bloomington, but I don't know, I just loved it because it was like, oh, she finds out that she's a princess, and then she goes and learns, and there's so many in the series There is actually, in 2015, there is actually a Princess Diaries for adults.
What?
That Meg Cabot wrote. It's called The Royal Wedding. So
I didn't hear that about
yeah,
that one.
so I was at Barnes & Noble like a couple years ago, like just perusing the stacks, and it like it was like literally there, and I was like, oh my gosh. And it's when like Mia and Michael get married, and I looked and we have it in overdrive.
Yes.
So like, yeah, this is, I mean, if you're just starting out reading like middle grade, anything like that, this is just a great series. And I still read it. So, and it's a great, like, if you need something to read book.
So, is the book better than the movie?
Yeah, the book is always better than the movie.
Always. Hands down.
Yeah, hands
Okay,
down.
so, but I know this
Even
is
with Anne
a series.
Hathaway? Isn't that
Okay,
who's
they
in the
do a
movie?
decent job,
Yeah,
but
they
it
do
is.
do a decent job, but I mean, it is better. The book is always better.
Do you remember how many there are in that series? There's at least 4?
There's,
But I didn't know about the wedding one, so
there
maybe
might be,
5?
no, there's more than that. I looked. My goodness, I think there's at least 10.
So guys,
Oh.
if you're watching and you think the movie was better, let us know in the comments if you think the book or the movie is better. If you haven't,
If you have a preference.
if you have
a
read it
preference.
before.
And there is actually a spin-off series. I have not read it, but there is a spin-off series, and we have it in our kids section. I won't ruin it because there's a major spoiler alert to the spin-off series. But if you find Meg Cabot in the kids section, it's
The cover has
spin-off.
been redone several times too.
Yes, it
Because
has
like the
been.
first cover that I remember seeing, I think it was mostly white.
Yeah, it's mostly white, and they
Yeah.
had like a crown on, or like a tiara on it, things like that. So I mean, they have like reimagined the covers like over and over and over again.
Right. Okay, what formats do we have that book, potentially more books in that series in?
We have them in ebook and e-audio.
Okay, so how do we get ebooks and e-audio books in our collection for our Napanee Public Library card holders?
You go to your app store on your phone and you look for Libby by Overdrive. And then you find Napanee Public Library, put in your library card number, and then you can borrow e-audio and e-books.
Perfect. Okay, just like what Martha did there, she's going to mention what formats each of our books come in, because some people, they do not like to have that physical book. They'd rather have that digital copy. We'll try to mention what formats each of the books come in. If for some reason one of the books that we mentioned piques your interest and we fail to do so, reach out to us in the comments, let us know. And then after this is all over, we'll put a list of the books in the comments for you, along with the availability of what formats those come in.
So this is what Libby looks like if you want to download it on the App Store.
Nice. Promo by Michaela.
Yeah.
Okay. This is a book series that I know Martha has also written. Did you write it? That would be amazing.
That would be.
That Martha has also read. This is the Once Upon a Prince book. It is part of the Royal Wedding series. Rachel Hauk has been a longtime favorite. She is not new to Book Bites. Her other books, her time slip novels, have also shown up here on different episodes. This is honestly the series that got me hooked on reading Royals, and I think you might have recommended this one to me.
I think I might have, because I mean I own all of them because I read them over and over and over again.
So I only read through the series twice, and one of it was because this one got optioned for a film and then went to Hallmark.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And they totally took lots of liberties. They changed the Southern barbecue joint to a flower shop. I mean, that's so much less cool. But anyway,
At least they kept the tree.
they kept the tree.
Yes.
You're right. They kept the tree. But, okay, so this is Susanna's story. She, kind of like in the Princess Diaries, becomes a princess but was not raised that way. She falls in love with royalty, and this is her story. And then there's multiple stories that follow sub-characters in this series, and there's weddings. But I really loved reading this because they were soft romances, but then you were like, you already kind of knew how royalty worked, but you know, when they go into the jewel room and they get enamored by all the jewels, and it's a feel-good book. This one is available as a paperback version on our shelves. We also have this on Libby and Overdrive as an ebook and an e-audio book. and it's in our inspirational fiction section. So there is like internal dialogue and some religious themes to it. Again, this one was made into a film. I think we have it in our collection. It has the same title, but I'm trying to think where it's at up in the movies. Once Upon a Prince. You want to check for me, Michaela?
Yeah, I can't remember. I know that we have it.
Yes. So, again, read it, watch it, compare and contrast the differences. I don't know if they'll make a film out of all of them, but definitely this first one does have a film. So, this is Once Upon a Prince by Rachel Hauk. Okay, want to do another one?
Yep. So I have a nonfiction. So I have here The Game of Crowns by Christopher Anderson. And I believe that he is one of the official royal, biographers, because he's written a lot of different things, like the day that Diana died, the day that John died, in reference to JFK Jr. But The Game of Crowns is about Elizabeth, Camilla, and Kate. So this is a nonfiction. Which it starts out with a fiction a little bit, like the prologue is fiction, but you just learn about the women and their roles with the throne, because you have Elizabeth, who is very much straight on the straight and narrow. You have Camilla, which I like to spout off like random royal facts every so often, and Camilla's like great grandmother or something like that was also like the mistress to the king. So if you know the story of Camilla, it's pretty funny. And then you have Kate, who is the up and coming royal and really changing the monarchy and everything like that. So this is just a great insight into the British monarchy and the women behind it. We do only have this in print.
Are there pictures in that one?
Yes, there are pictures. So there's pictures.
Ooh, full color pictures.
Yeah, they are color pictures. So there's just all sorts of pictures going back with really all of them. And there's 2 sections of pictures. So that's what's like.
What year was this one written? Like, how is it still really relevant? Is it kind of out of date now with the monarchy changing?
It's 2016, so
they could come out with a new edition.
Yeah, they could.
Sometimes they do that.
So because let's see, what else did he write? He's just.
Are those all his?
Yeah, those are all his.
Wow. Okay, he's got a lot of books, guys.
Yeah, he's wrote William and Kate, A Royal Love Story. He's done something on Barack and Michelle Obama. So yeah, he's just a really good biographer.
Nice. Well, from real to dystopian, as again we mentioned, dystopian is going to be a futuristic idea of what the author feels like could happen. And this is a book that has also already been on Book Bites and mentioned previously. Kira Cass wrote the selection series like a while ago, maybe 10 years ago the first book came out. My best pitch for this book, when I have somebody coming in and looking for something, they don't know what they want to read, I'll say, do you like The Bachelorette? Do you like The Bachelor? Either one. Mm-hmm. And then do you like The Hunger Games? This is like a mashup between those two. So there's a caste system. It's based in the future, post World War IV. And they build the storyline up, and there's a monarchy now placed in the realm of what is currently the United States. But the United States is so in debt that China buys it and makes provinces and breaks up the country in different sections, and then you're put into this caste system where you cannot be in an occupation of your choice, but based on where you sit in the caste system, you're limited to what jobs you can have. So if your great-great-grandfather, when the caste system was developed, was into art, several generations later, that's still where you're going to be stuck. You can be a potter, you can be an artist yourself, but you cannot explore other things. In this story, this is the first one in a series, the main character is deeply in love with somebody who she wants to marry, but then her name gets drawn and she has to move into the palace and be a part of, it's like a reality game show within the palace, because they don't want the royal line to become too stuck in their ways. And so every generation they marry in a quote unquote commoner to keep the country happy. And there is kind of a twist with the technology and what royalty and what the government wants their citizens to know. So there's lots of secrets. There's kind of a mystery twist to it. The second book and the third book, they read like as a straight line. This is just the first part, sets up the story, but then you're gonna continue on with that game show theme in the second and the third book, and then it's gonna skip a generation, and then you're gonna get her daughter's story. So this is going to be a series that's really fast-paced, lots of dialogue, but also lots of characters. And so if you have a hard time with that kind of, like sometimes if there's too much content, it can be overload. And so finding the right format can be make it or break it with this series. So this one here we have as a physical book, but it's also available as an ebook on Libby and Overdrive. So that might be a different way where you can put your notes in it as you're reading to remember who these different characters are because of, is it 18 or 24? Do you remember? There's a lot.
Yeah,
there's like over a dozen women who move into the palace. So if you're thinking about all these girls and their names and the relationships that are building and the bullying and all kinds of the drama, it can be confusing.
And it's
but
a good
give
thing,
it a chance.
Yeah, it's a good thing that you don't even know like half their names because you would never be able to like keep it straight. And yeah, I highly recommend the selection. Like I overheard somebody like talking about it, and they used that like Bachelor meets the Hunger Games, and I was like, oh, you're talking about the selection, and the person that they were talking to was like, how did you get that just from?
Because it is very unique in that way.
It is a very unique book.
It is.
Chandra from Wakarusa said that they loved it.
It's actually been
WPL.
repaired because this book has been well loved.
It's number 2. Number 1 most checked out in the teen section. So number 1 is Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. Number 2 of the most checked out item in the teen section at NPL is the selection, the first one.
I can believe it. I definitely can. This is a series that I've read multiple times, and you're just gonna love it. I hope that you love it as much as we do. Okay, so that's the selection. Did I already say it comes in book and ebook formats?
All right. So when I was on Book Bites before, I talked about another one of Rachel Hawkins' books, which was The Wife Upstairs, which was her breakthrough into adults. But she's been writing teen books for a really long time, and one of my favorites of hers is called Royals, which it's very much like Princess Diaries meets a reality TV show. So you meet Daisy, who her parents are British, but they moved away, and so her dad was a rocker for 11 months in the 90s. Her mom was a writer journalist, and so they sent her sister Eleanor to England to go to college. And in fact, she meets Alex, which Alex is the future king of Scotland. So this follows Daisy and her excursion into going to Scotland, having to be taught to be a lady, and meeting Alex's brother Miles. And it's just that really all of their shenanigans together. I love it. It's like a TV Royals reality TV show, the way that it reads. And yeah, Daisy's just outspoken. She has tons of sarcasm, and Miles is very, very meek. And I can't remember if Miles, now I haven't read it in a really long time. Oh wait, Miles is the bodyguard. I'm sorry. So Sebastian is the younger brother. But yeah, so
This is the first book in the series?
Yeah, this is the first book in the series, but the second, there's 3 or something. But they don't go in, they're like about different characters, each one.
So you could read them separately?
Yeah, you could read them separately. We do only have this in print, but yeah, so, I mean, it's one of my faves.
It's kind of interesting how you said it though, and I have not read that series, but this series, well, it's a duology. I don't know if there's gonna be a third book. Have you heard anything about this one?
So I did an author event with the authors who wrote these two books.
Okay.
And they said that it took them so long to write the second one that they weren't sure about a third one. Because it took them 5 years to write.
Oh my, well, there was a big disconnect. Okay,
Yeah.
so just like in Rachel Hawkins' The Royals, that's where this one, I'm going to call it a duology right now since there's not a third one. The Royal We comes first. This is going to be fan fiction. So, no, it's not.
Yeah, it is. Well, and it's not really
The
fan
storyline
fiction.
is fan fiction.
The storyline is fan fiction. It's like, if you look at the cover, it's really like William and Kate-ish.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Is that who it's based on?
Yeah.
Roughly?
Roughly, I would
There's
say.
a sibling, and
Yeah,
I
I mean,
don't want to give it away, but
yeah,
it's not quite fanfic,
and
but
she's
it's
American, isn't it?
yeah,
So
she's American.
It's almost inspired.
There you go.
By
That's a better way of describing
the
it.
William
So
and
the
Kate.
Royal We
Mhm.
and the Heir Affair both are written by co-authors Heather Cox and Jessica Morgan. They're inspired by, I like that. That's the perfect way of describing it. Inspired by current events when they were written. So previous current events?
Yeah, previous current events.
Sure, that will work. That's
That
a good way to
works.
say it. Beck is an American. She travels to Great Britain in order to go to college. There she becomes wrapped up in the royal family and all the drama and all that kind of stuff. The second book takes place after the wedding, and there's honestly more drama in the second book than there is in the first. Okay, I gave this one like a 3 stars. This one was definitely a 4 stars. I liked the second book more than the first book, but the drama, oh my word. Don't read this one before bedtime because your dreams will be so full of like the bantering and the fighting and the backstabbing. There's like a friend who becomes an enemy and then never gets out of that enemy part. Anyway, so, but they're huge. These are like over 400 pages.
Yeah, they're over
They are
400
big
pages.
books.
I
Lots
want to
of
say
content.
this one's like closer to 5.
Yeah, it's bigger.
But I mean, they're quick reads. Like, I mean,
Those
those
are big
two,
books, though.
Yeah, but like they're 2 of my favorite. Like,
But this one takes place for like 4 years.
Yeah.
There's like 4 years worth of content in this one, and this one,
there's just as many years.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
do.
because it's after babies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's probably 4 or 5 years in this one too.
And I love the Queen Mom she is like my ultimate favorite. She has like her Twitter account is like crazy.
Oh, so funny. Okay, so the Royal We comes first. I would recommend that you read them in order. This one we have is a print book and then an e-book. The second book, The Heir Affair. See how they did that there? The Heir Affair. That's very telling on what kind of the storyline is about. This is a print book. We also have this one as an e-book and an e-audio book on Libby and Overdrive. So if you want to listen to it, you can listen to this one.
Yes, they're amazing. I think like The Royal We might have been the only book that I read when I got married, but like before I got married, like the year of that, and so I mean it just made my year. But all right, so the next couple books I'm going to talk about, they are also a duology because the author announced that she is not writing anymore. And so they are a dystopian. They're kind of a dystopian. It's about if America actually had royalty instead of presidents. So you would have the House of Washington instead of having the president. So this follows Beatrice, her siblings Samantha and Teddy. Beatrice is going to be the first queen in America. There's always been kings. And then it also follows Samantha's best friend, Nina. So it goes in between all of them. It also throws in a villain named Daphne, who you also get her perspective in the second book. So I would highly recommend it if you like clean-cut endings. I wouldn't read the second one because it's left on a cliffhanger.
But she's not gonna write a third?
Yeah, and she's not gonna write a third.
Ooh.
So like a lot of people are trying to talk her into just writing another one. But yeah, these are great. It follows, like I said, Beatrice. She's going to be the first queen, so it's kind of like a drama, intrigue. You know, it just goes through like what you want to be royal and how you want to be royal.
So that would be, okay, so if Catherine McGee never writes a third book, that would be the perfect opportunity for the fan fiction writers out there. So that would be that terminology that we mentioned earlier. Fan fiction is when somebody takes somebody else's characters, their setting, their plot, they write their own story based on what they think should have happened, or they'll take a cliffhanger ending that's never going to be finished by the author, and then they'll make it their own. So that could happen with this. So oftentimes, probably the most popular is Harry Potter fan fiction, where there's like whole entire websites of people who have taken the characters, given them different life stories, changed the setting, changed this or that, and then written their own book. So fan fiction is just, it's technically an unpublished.
Yeah, it's like an unpublished. Some of them do get published.
Well, yeah, that's true.
There are some like crazy fan fictions out there that have gotten published, and you're just sitting there like, why?
Yeah. Like, yeah. So that it's a different type of terminology. So if you really like the royal books, there's all types of things like that out there. Even if they're not on our shelves, you might find them on websites. Reading is reading. That's what we want to promote, right?
It is. So like there's a really good book that I just received in the mail from the publisher. It's called Elizabeth and Margaret. So it's the relationship of Queen Elizabeth and Princess Margaret, and I can't wait to read it.
Is it?
So it's a nonfiction.
Fiction? Oh, it's nonfiction.
Yes, nonfiction.
Okay, because this book here, I read this one earlier this year. This is The Other Windsor Girl by Georgie Ballock. I listened to this one as an e-audiobook. That's the only way we have that one. That's the only format we have this book in currently. This is going to be a perfect mashup for that because it is a fan fiction, but it's based on those historical events. So in this book, the main character is an author herself. She wants to write, but is kind of roadblocked. But the books that she writes underneath somebody else's name. And then she finds out that Princess Margaret is a huge fan of her work, and she is brought into Princess Margaret's set. So if you are a fan of The Crown on Netflix, you can already kind of imagine the notoriety and the party atmosphere of Princess Margaret and what you might know of her. This was an easy one for me to imagine as I was listening to it, because you hear about her substance abuse and the people that are in and out and in and out. But what I kind of learned when I was reading this one is it never even occurred to me that Princess Margaret's inner circle, her friends that she keeps around her constantly, are paid. They are paid by the crown, by, how do you say that? They're paid by
the establishment.
Yes. To stay close. And I don't know how I would feel about that. Like, if my mom and dad were paying my friends to be my friends, like, it just, I don't know. It was eye-opening to me. That never even occurred to me. So our main character in this book is in the inner set of Princess Margaret. And then it's kind of the fall of her own storyline, because she kind of has to lose herself in order to be a lady in waiting. So it was just eye-opening to me. So if you like Netflix's The Crown, this might be one that you'd want to listen to. Again, that's the only way we have this format currently. It might be old enough that we could get an interlibrary loan if it has to be at least a year old. I don't know when this one was published.
I think it came out a year ago, because I just started reading it.
Okay, so it's pretty close then.
Yeah.
That we should be able to get a different format for you if that is what your desire is. But this one, it was pretty good. And then the author also writes underneath a pseudonym, so I was able to use that one as one of my tasks on the Expand Your Horizons book challenge, where we had to write a book by a pseudonym author. So there you have it.
And I think I forgot to mention, American Royals and Majesty they're available in print and also in ebook format. So the last book that I have is Victoria by Daisy Goodwin, and this is a historical fiction. It's about Queen Victoria before she was Queen Victoria, and then some to Queen Victoria. So it talks about her being a princess and how she was always like walked down the stairs. She couldn't walk down the stairs alone because they wanted nothing to happen to her. And then it talks about her romance with Prince Albert and things like that. And what is really crazy about Daisy Goodwin is she is actually the writer for the PBS show Victoria. So this book came first and then the show, which I think it has like 3 seasons.
Wow.
I want to say. I don't think there has been any more lately, I want to say. But yeah, Daisy Goodwin is one of my favorite historical fiction authors. She also has a book called The American Duchess, and I don't think we have it on our shelves. But if you're a fan of Downton Abbey, I would say that one is like the main character's name is even Cora.
Oh.
So like there's very much similarities between Downton Abbey and American Duchess. But we have this in print and ebook, and if you're just a fan of Queen Victoria and love the history of that and everything like that, this is a great read, and it's nice to read it as a fictionalized version. Daisy Goodwin does do her research, so she did go through like Queen Victoria's diaries, even though her daughter Princess Victoria like blacked out like all of the good stuff, like all of the really, really personal stuff, like she blacked out in her mother's diaries. But I mean, you can tell that it's very, very well researched. So
That makes a world of difference.
it does.
So when I'm reading these royal books, I think my favorite thing is the way they describe wardrobes. And I would absolutely hate to be forced to wear a corset. But
Yeah.
some of the way that they describe the clothes, and then like when you're talking about like those futuristic ones, like what those authors, what they kind of believe the world's going to look like in 200, 300 years, and then throwing in technology changes, throwing in what wardrobe could be like. It's fun. It's a fun way of adding a setting element to a story, and the description can make it and break it in a storyline. And I feel like these books do a great job with that.
I think so too, especially with like American Royals and being like in present time, like, and the author really having to create this world, this America with kings and queens and duchesses and dukes, and it's really fun how she creates that world.
Fun.
Yeah.
I like it. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us for Book Bites. This was, what one was this? This is episode 8 of season 2. We're going to have 2 more episodes in May featuring stories that have mother and grandmother main characters. And then we're going to do a mental health episode as well with storylines focusing on mental health. So thank you guys so much for joining us. This will be saved on the Napanee Public Library's timeline, and you'll be able to find it in different locations as well. If you watch this after the live showing and you see a title that sticks out to you, reach out to us. You can call us on the phone. We're here at the library 7 days a week. You can leave a message still on a posted video, send us a direct message, and we'll be happy to add those items to the hold list with your name on them, and you can come and pick them up. So we'll see you next time for Book Bites. Thanks.